kana zani chitonga ZANU-PF chitonga kusvikira madhonga anenge amera nyanga kana mutemo wacho futi tinochinja wakaramba achiita nharo toti ndo watinoda kusvikira amen.
Many say the future belongs to the young. But if the future belongs to the young, then the young must be the future, and they must be allowed to determine the course that that future is supposed to take. You can't be given responsibility of being responsible for the future and being excluded from making the decisions that build that future. And for Zimbabwe, the Constitution is the document that we put to guide the future, to make young people find their space. But most often than not, young people have shied away from politics, from constitutionalism, and they prefer just a drip and that kind of stuff. So in the situation right now, on this episode, we're going to be talking to you about why you should care about the Constitution and which sections of the Constitution should concern you. HSTV in proud partnership with We Lead. This is why you should care. Join us just after this break. Now, welcome back to the situation right now here on HSTV in proud partnership with We Lead. Now, in studio, I have two young people who are going to help me discuss and go in depth on sections of the Constitution that really matter to the young people and why the young people should be concerned. Now, just before we get into business, I will allow them to introduce themselves and just tell us a bit why they have a passion in constitutionalism and constitution making. Yokai, over to you.
Hello everybody. My name is Yokai Choguruwei and I'm a media practitioner. I have passion about issues to do with the Constitution because I love to educate and inform young people so that they participate meaningfully in Zimbabwe.
Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you so much. My name is Lenmo Mnangu from Youth Decide Zimbabwe, an organization which focuses on youth participation in decision-making processes. The Constitution is a guiding document. Without constitutionalism, a country cannot develop. Without democracy, we cannot have constitutionalism. So a constitutionalism, the Constitution must be respected by the government, by the people. So I have passion in it because if we empower our people, if our people understand the Constitution, they can understand how the nation is supposed to be governed, and they cannot be misdirected or misrepresented by the politicians.
Misdirected, misrepresented, two strong, powerful words there. But what we're going to do as we open this segment is just to go through the Constitution, to read the Constitution where what should matter, where it matters, what should matter, and then we'll discuss the how, who, and when. Over to you.
All right, so I'm going to read section 20 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. It reads, the state and all institutions and agencies of the government at every level must take reasonable measures, including affirmative action programs, to ensure that youth, that is to say people between the ages of 15 and 35 years, A, have access to appropriate education and training. B, have opportunities to associate and to be represented and participate in political, social, economic, and other spheres of life. C, are afforded opportunity for employment and other avenues to economic empowerment. D, have opportunities for recreational activities and access to recreational facilities. And E, are protected from harmful cultural practices, exploitation, and all forms of abuse. Then number 2, an act of parliament may provide for one or more national youth programs. 3, measures and programs referred in the subsections 1 and 2 must be inclusive, non-partisan, and national in character. Thank you.
Beautiful. The Constitution is clear and precise on what government should do for the young people. And key for me, there are issues around to do with they have the right for employment to be created for them. They have a right for economic opportunities to be created for them. And there must be, or maybe, number of national youth programs. But these youth programs must be non-partisan in nature. Now, I want us to then discuss here, then let us talk about, is any of these things written in this constitution, passed in this constitution in 2013, being implemented in present-day Zimbabwe?
Okay, thank you so much, Blessing. I strongly feel that these programs, which are stipulated in the Constitution, are not being implemented. Why I'm saying so? If the programs come, you see they are partisan in nature, but the Constitution is clearly saying that these programs are supposed to be non-partisan, which means if it is food, if it is bread, it must not be given to you, Blessing, because you belong to a certain political party. But the problems that we are facing, we have young people who support a certain political party, who benefit from these programs. Let's look at the mining activities. Who is getting the mining claims? Who is getting the agricultural land? So it's a question of who is getting the things. So I can simply say that this program, if they are being implemented, 1 or 2, they are being given in a partisan manner. And also going back to the institutions, we have institutions which are supposed to be running the youth affairs, but those institutions are being partisan now. You can go to institutions like the Zimbabwe Youth Council. They are not performing well. They are incapacitated. They are the only youth agent in the country that we have. But if you go to them, they tell you, no, we don't have this material that you want. We don't have these opportunities that you want. We can't access this. But they are the only youth agent in the country. So I can, in other words, simply say that the government is not doing well. The government is not putting things in place for young people to participate in economics, in politics, and even the social life of young people is in delay because of lack of proper programming.
I want to come to you, okay, on the point of employment, right to employment. I mean, this is the big one for me, and as I see it, the unemployment rate is massive. Young people are graduating from college to stay at home, to do drugs on the streets, and yet the Constitution is clear. They must be provided with jobs.
Blessing, you know, that's a big issue in Zimbabwe, considering that we have a lot of people who are graduates in Zimbabwe, but then they are suffering because they cannot access any, working, any jobs in Zimbabwe because there are no jobs. So now it appears like we do not have that right as young people to have access to employment. So the situation is very bad. And there is nothing we can do about it as young people. We have been trying, people have marched, but nothing has happened.
You look at it, my favorite musician, Usaya Chipanga, sings this song, Taiwana Moto, where he says, vamwe vane mabasa mashanu pamunhu umwe chete vanoda kuti tishande. You've got this older generation guys who are in power, but they hold almost a whole lot of jobs. They are consultant here, they are consultant there, they're a board, they sit on that board, they work everywhere. And let's talk about that. What should the Constitution do to ensure that even young people get to sit on those boards and get to make a decision about the future, for the future, because they're the ones who will be alive in that future? Let's talk about it.
No, that's okay. So as the Constitution speaks about equality, I believe when these boards are being made, there should be young people in such bodies so that we talk of inclusive, so that there won't be nepotism and corruption when it comes to job distribution in Zimbabwe.
Now, young people the government has created posts for young people in parliament. They've said that a number of seats are going to be given to parliament. I mean, this is job creation, isn't it?
It's not job creation. It's not job creation. If you go to parliament, you can say that you have a job. They're not at work. Actually, they are serving the people. So going to parliament, you're not going there as a job, but to serve the people. But here in Zimbabwe, it seems as if being elected by the people of Zimbabwe, going to parliament, going to the council, you now have a job. So we can't say young people have a job by just going to parliament. And let's also look at the numbers. Only 10 people, only 10 seats, 1 seat per province are being given to young people. But let's look at the demographic statistics, the propensity. You see that young people constitute more than 67% of the total population. And one person.
So young people constitute more than 67% of the population, right?
Yes.
But you are voting Madalas. It's you. So what are you crying over?
Who said we are voting Madalas?
They're the ones who get elected, aren't they? So you are voting for them. Because if you're 67% of the young people, of the population, that basically means if young people vote for each other, you will have more than 10 young people in parliament. And you will have young people making decisions for the young people.
Okay, thank you so much. So we then go back to the political structure of our country. Blessed, you was talking about we have the elders, occupying different jobs, you see. Let's also go to politics. Who is occupying positions in the political structures? So you can then answer your question, because the people who are contesting the elections, they are just choosing themselves at the political party level. So as young people, we are then forced to vote for those old Madalas because they are the only candidates that we have. But if political parties agree, maybe a political party, one political party or all political parties agree to have a contact in which they say, we are going to nominate or elect our young people, to go as candidates. We're going to vote for our fellow young people. But if they are not there, we can only exercise our right by choosing a better leader from those old Madalas. So it all goes back to the political structure of our country. It's created by, ageism, extremism. We have the young people and the elders, and there is no one in between, and the elders are running the thing.
Because they have money.
You're saying that they have money.
Yes.
And why don't you have money?
Like you said before, these old Madalas are occupying, powerful positions where they can access money. And like us, we just go to school, we graduate, and we are stuck at our own homes. So we do not have anything. Actually, we are financially disabled in Zimbabwe as young people.
But the Constitution here says that you should be given economic opportunities. Why aren't you demanding for these economic opportunities?
I believe, Blessed, you have had stories where young people have demonstrated and were arrested. And every young people knows that once you raise your voice, you are gone. So we can't be, it drives a lot of young people away from demonstrating, demanding their rights. So it's so disturbing.
You walk into these high density areas, you go into these programs that are happening around the country, the issue always is that young people are getting into drugs and they are disinterested in the running or the political affairs of their own nation. They are not registered voters. Why would they expect to be given things when they are not politically conscious?
I believe that young people in Zimbabwe are politically demotivated. Why do I say so? According to the constitution, anybody who's 18 years and above is eligible to vote. The same constitution states that you can only run for office when you're 21 years old. So tell me, as young people, we want to amplify our voices. By then, how can I amplify my voice when I'm 18 and I cannot run for an election, but I can vote? So one, we are politically demotivated. Number two, you know, we have lost, as young people, we have lost faith in the political, you know, spaces in Zimbabwe. But we have witnessed violence, we have witnessed a whole bunch of things that has told us that you guys, you should just stay away from politics because this is a very dangerous game. So people, because we can't provide for ourselves, we end up taking drugs because there is nothing we can really do about the situation.
Mm-hmm. But do you think that that's the best way to go about it, to say, you know what, there's nothing we can do about this situation?
There's an option, and an option is to talk, to speak out. But once we start speaking out, we are done.
I say this because our partners really, you know, have this drive and motive to say young people should wake up. Young people should begin to speak to the Constitution, to make a Constitution not just a paper document, but a reality, that young people have a whole lot of energy and potential to change this nation to a better space. So do I hear us giving up?
We are not giving up. But the other problem that we are facing around issues of constitutionalism is that in Zimbabwe, actually, we have a very, very good constitution, but we do not have constitutionalism. The constitution is a document, but constitutionalism is the practice. How are we implementing what is written in the constitution? So you can see all the provisions in the constitution are not being followed. So the people who are in power, the people who are supposed to be protecting the constitution, who are supposed to be protecting the people, you know, they are not protecting the people. They are protecting their power. They are protecting themselves. They are enhancing their power.
But power comes from the people.
Power comes from the people.
Why don't you withdraw the power?
No. You see, now we go back to the issues of, like what I told you, the political structure. You see, you cannot simply say that we want to withdraw power from this person, because we have structures that are already there. So one of the important structures are elections. And you know, Blessing, you were saying that young people are not participating in issues of democracy. I can simply see that young people are participating in issues of democracy. You can go back even to 1970s, 1960s. We, the young people of Zimbabwe, are the ones who fought the liberation struggle. And we are very proud of that, because the youth, us, we are the ones who decided to leave everything behind and won the liberation. So with the history of the country, we are actually the ones who did best for this nation, because the little democracy, the young democracy that we are currently enjoying, we are the ones who brought it forth. So I can simply say that for those, or if anyone believes that young people are not participating, let's look at the environment. Is the environment conducive for young people to participate? I want to give you an example, Blessing. If we go to soccer, you know, you see, if players are not performing well, if the team is not performing well, they fire the coach. You see, they don't fire the players. Yeah. So look at the environment. Are these young people who are not participating, who is their leader? What the leaders are doing for these young people to participate? Let's look at the institutions. Is ZEC in a better position to encourage young people to register to vote? Or is just providing information, you know, just saying that we are going to have delimitation, but they are not fully telling us as young people what is delimitation and what is our role in delimitation. They just tell you that we are going to have a blitz, but they don't tell you even to come by and register to vote. They just tell you, we are going to be in Mavuku, we are going to have a blitz, you see. But they are not giving you full information. Actually, they are just giving you information, but they don't persuade you, they don't encourage you to go and register to vote or to participate in issues of democracy. So I strongly believe that the institutions have to work, you know, to encourage young people to put in place strong institutions, you know, to encompass the needs and aspirations of young people.
I'm hearing young people are not given. Are we just about being given things? Why can't we go and take?
Like Lenmo said, there are rules and laws in each and every country. I cannot just go and have a mind like, I'm here, so I'm operating here because no one is here. I'll be sold. So there are rules.
I was talking about taking knowledge, you know, researching about the limitation, you know, and understanding those issues so that we don't wait to be fed information. This is what I was talking about.
Do you think there are no young people who have done that? But we have young people in rural areas, in minority groups where there is no internet. They cannot research anywhere because they do not have access to certain opportunities that we have in urban areas. So yes, there are some, you know, like young people are not a homogeneous group. There are some young people who have got so much passion, who are doing something towards these things. But there are young people who do not know anything, not because they don't want to know, they do not have access to information. So look at our country and think of someone who is in Nyami rural district, where there is no network, there are no books, there is nothing there. But that's a young person who has a right to have access to information, like what the Constitution says.
So what are we doing? Yeah, I wanted to go there and say, what are we doing? Because when we have a problem, when we identify a problem, we then must come up with a solution. Because I think young people must be solution-based.
That's very true. Let's talk of Willie Trust. It's an organization that is working with young people. And they have noted that we have different young people in different places. So there are young people in rural areas where they go and have like physical outreaches, teaching them. And in most cases, these young people will testify that they never had knowledge about these things. So you understand.
Mm-hmm. And one of the major, drivers of lack of development is violence in the society. One of the major threats to democracy and elections, which are free and fair, is violence. And we have seen in the past that as we march towards 2023 general elections, where the people who are the owners of the power have the right to make a decision to withdraw power and transfer it to someone else or to retain it. Violence has become an issue, and this issue around violence is accredited to young people who are actually the ones going around beating up people. Let's talk about this, the matrix. It is the vote that will make the lives of young people better, but it is the young people who are discrediting the vote through violence.
Okay, so thank you so much. You know, young people, as we are discussing here, you can simply see that they do not have opportunities, like the economic opportunities. Actually, they are poor. They don't have money, you see. They don't have a good life. They are only desiring a life of those who are in power, the elitists. So the elitists have the power also to compromise these young people. So they are using us as young people because we have nothing. Because if they tell me today that Lenmo, please go and beat Yokai, I'm going to give you $1. For the reason that I do not have that dollar and I'm in need of that dollar, I will go and beat Yokai, you see. If they say that go and torture Mudara's house, I can come and torture your house because I have nothing. And they're going to give me that $2, that $3, and I go for a bread, you know. So it's something that is so appalling because we the ones who also want a better future, we are being used to distract our own future. Why is that happening? They know that if young people participate, you know, in issues of democracy, they are going to lose that power. So it's better to use the same people, you know. It's better to blind them, to blindfold them so that they can't see a better future. So we are actually being dragged, we are being removed from a better place that we are supposed to be participating and put it aside so that we can't see what is happening here. Because if you are doing violence, you don't want anyone to support a certain maybe political movement, But Zimbabwe is a multi-part democratic state, and democracy cannot come. I used to say that democracy is actually the water of the economy. If you do not have democracy, the economy cannot run. If you can't have water blessing, you definitely die. You can't cook. You can't do anything. So it's something that we always tell our people that democracy is actually the water of the economy. So if young people are being used to disturb democracy, a better economy will never come.
Amazing. If young people are used to destroy democracy, then their future also remains doomed. Now, this is the situation right now in our partnership with We Lead. Here on this, the situation right now, we talk to you about why you should care, why it matters to you. This is the hottest political, social, and economic place where we have discussions. Every Zimbabwean's opinion matters. It is us who can build this nation. Now, today we are talking about youth, young people's participation, how they will build the future. Just join me just soon after this break. Welcome back to the situation right now with me, your host as usual, Dara B. On this, the situation right now on HSTV in proud partnership with We Lead, an organization of young people striving to make a difference in Zimbabwe by ensuring that the constitution is respected, young people are given a seat on the table to make a decision about their own future. Now, I want us to define young, because young has been very problematic in Zimbabwe. I remember during the President Robert Mugabe, the late tenure in office, Absalom Skosana was the youth leader, and he was well above his 70s and all. So let's talk about young. How do we define young?
All right. So according to Section 20 of the Zimbabwean Constitution, young people are those who are aged from 15 to 35 years of age.
So is this what is happening? Is this the definition of young that is attaining in Zimbabwe?
That's very subjective. Anyways, there are certain political parties that feel that you can also be a young people at 16. So the issue of being a young person in Zimbabwe is very subjective, but according to the constitution, someone between 15 to 35 years of age.
Amazing. When you have conversations with young people about politics, most of them, they tell me they're afraid to answer questions. They're afraid to talk about things that concern them and that matter to them. Why do you think it's so?
Okay, so from history, politics is dangerous. It's mad with violence. People can be killed just for speaking out. So it's always dangerous to speak about politics in Zimbabwe. That's the context, I think. That's what we have. And people are actually accepting it, to say that if you talk about a certain political party, if you degrade a certain political party, or if you say anything against a certain political party, or if you support a certain political party, you can be arrested, you can be killed, you can disappear, because we witnessed in the past some people have disappeared. Yeah, so it's...
Are you afraid?
I'm afraid, but because of the courage that I have, I can speak, because death is in two ways. Failure to speak is death. Dying is death. So if you fail to speak today, you're actually dead, because we don't know what you want and we don't know what we can do for you. So it's better for you to speak so that you can be alive.
Using powerful words. Silence can also mean death. I I want to go to 20, section 2 of it, which says an act of parliament may provide for one or more national youth programs. Now, Minister of Sport and Youth, Kirsty Coventry in Parliament, was talking about reintroducing Green Bomber, the border gezi. But in the past, those have been associated with ZANU-PF as a ZANU-PF extension. In fact, youth from the border gezi, National Youth Service, would mostly, if not always, be used to be ushers at ZANU-PF political rallies. Now let us talk about this, because the Constitution says these should be non-partisan.
As for me, the reintroduction of the National Youth Service is something that is coming towards an election, which means that it's a warning sign to young Zimbabweans or to Zimbabweans that if you do any silly mistake, you are targeted. We both know that this group of young people has been trained to be violent, and history has it that they used to kill people. So we all know that this is not for the good, and personally I cannot label it a program for young people. It's a program for a political party.
But you're using the past. We've since have had a new government.
In Zimbabwe, history keeps on repeating itself. Violence comes after violence.
This is a new dispensation, second dispensation.
I'm afraid I have to say it's the same wine in a different bottle.
Amazing, amazing. What are your views?
Okay, thank you so much. So like Yokai already said, the timing of the reintroduction is so shocking. Why are we just introducing it before the elections? So it's something that is so surprising. Why? Before each and every election, we try to introduce these programs. We try to introduce different bills that try to hinder, other political players to do well in their campaigns or in the election. So the reintroduction of the National Youth Service is something that is so shocking, because we just heard the minister, announcing that the cabinet now have the principles of the bill. Who was consulted for those principles to be there? We are the young people. We come from different organizations. We lead was never consulted. You was never consulted. So they just brought their program to the people. Actually to the young people. So they are trying to enforce programming in young people, but young people do not appreciate the program. But because they have people as politicians different, like what Eokai already said, that young people are a homogeneous group. There are others who are with them in this programming, and they embrace the program. But once they embrace the program, they can be also used, like what we witnessed in the past. The border gezi, the National Youth Service, was known for beating people, was known for killing people, was known for beating the opposition supporters, disgruntling the programming of the opposition supporters. So that's something that we are very afraid of. And the minister didn't come, in a true face to tell us what are the changes now, because they are saying it's going to focus on the economy and all that. But we all know in Zimbabwe, you can be told yes, but tomorrow you can be told no. You can be told no today, and tomorrow you can be told yes. Because we know these people, and now we are afraid it's going to come as it was before.
Now, okay, the old people that are in power now, who are probably, as you are saying, refusing you the opportunities in life. We once young people at some point, and we're fighting for rights for the young people. Now, what do you think happens when you grow from young to old, and then the young start fighting for rights that you used to fight for, but you don't want to give them?
I think a spirit of greediness prevailed. So like these were young people who fought for the liberation of Zimbabwe, and they changed the regime, right? So they tested him like, okay, so this is how we test. we can't give these young people a chance. Therefore, we'll make sure that we'll maintain our seats, we'll maintain power, and make sure that we use these young people, to be perpetrators of violence, to be poor, things like that. So it's the greediness after all.
Greediness. Now, the Constitution here says that the state and all institutions and agencies of government and at every level must take reasonable measures, including affirmative action programs, to ensure that youths, that is to say, people between the age of 15 and 35 years, have access to appropriate education and training. Over the past few months, university students have been demonstrating. They have been arrested. They were saying that education has been driven above what they can afford.
It's very true.
Let's talk about this. Yet the Constitution says they must have access to appropriate education. And it says they should take reasonable measures. Do you think that the state is taking reasonable measures in line with what people are complaining about?
Okay, thank you. The word reasonable, I think that's the word that we are supposed to be talking about here. That's the key word. So it's not reasonable. Why I'm saying so? You all know that the civil servants are earning, some they call it peanuts, I don't know. But so the civil servants are earning just a few, the other TGS is being eroded. The level of inflation in our country is just high, and the pays, are not being increased in accordance to the ratio of the inflation. So our parents are actually earning way less. And the government at the University of Zimbabwe, the NAST and the Bindura University, they increased the fees, by 300%, something that was very shocking. But the salaries of our parents are not even increasing by 5% per month, but they are increasing the fees by 300% just once. And they gave deadlines for that to say you are supposed to pay these school fees by the end of this period. In less than 30 days, you are supposed to pay something around 500,000 and like that. So I strongly believe that the government is actually forgetting that they are supposed to provide education to its own citizens. And the young people are being affected because we constitute the majority of the students, we the youth. And we are being affected. And the future is something that I can say it won't be bright if young people are not well equipped with education and proper training due to these astronomical fees. They are putting fees that cannot be afforded by an ordinary citizen. Let's talk of someone who is in Mzalabani operating a small garden, but they have children who want also to go to school. They have children who passed their A levels, they want to go to universities. They cannot afford this because they are not doing a very strong business. And you can look at our own environment, what is happening in our economy, a lot of inflation. And we must also not forget that they might have other children who also want to go to school. So a family cannot afford to send even one children to school. So the government is actually forgetting about its own people. They want to benefit. They are commodifying the education. They are marketizing the education. They are the ones now who want to benefit from the education system.
But you can't have your cake and eat it, can you? Because the more government allows sub-economic fees to be charged, the more the education does not become appropriate because it becomes substandard. And it runs down. So how do we strike the balance, reasonability, appropriateness, and affordability?
First of all, I do not agree with what you said. Anyways, let me say, in Zimbabwe, in most cases, once the government or the authority have spoken, there is no way for us as ordinary citizens we can push for striking a balance. Yes, we can make noise on social media, we can demonstrate, but we know that once you demonstrate, the next day you hear that 21 students were arrested for demonstrating because it's against certain clauses which we do not find in the Constitution of Zimbabwe. So it's a tricky situation and a disturbing situation. We can't really strike a balance.
We can't. Yeah. This is the situation right now with me, host as usual, Dara B. Now, I have, in this discussion, we're discussing about the young people, how we can make lives better and the future brighter for the young people today. These young people who are fighting for rights of the young people today will be the adults of tomorrow. And I want to be sitting here and asking them if they will turn back and make sure that the young people of tomorrow, of tomorrow rather, will not be fighting as they are doing today. But thank you very much for joining me here in the studio. But I'll just ask you to do your concluding remarks, and I'll also come to Yokai.
Okay, so thank you so much. As we are talking about the Constitution, it's important for us to see that the Constitution is a law at rest. So as you read at section 20, subsection 2, it says that the Act of Parliament. So you have to quote the Act of Parliament. And currently we don't have that Act of Parliament, which guides, inform, and defend the programming of young people. How young people are supposed to participate in economics, in politics, and even the social life of young people. Let's talk of education. So there is no law so far which guides, inform, and defend how young people are supposed to participate, how institutions are supposed to relate to young people. What we have, the policies, we have the National Youth Policy, we have the other programs, But those programs, young people cannot stand up and claim to say that we want what is written in this document, because it's not a law. So by not having the youth bill, I can say that we have a youth bill, but it's very shocking because it's now have more than 1,200 days at the office of the Attorney General. And we don't know what the Attorney General is doing with the document, because some things were done. Some money, the taxpayers' money was invested in doing that bill. But the bill now have more than 1,000 days at the office of the Attorney General. And we don't know what they are doing with the document. And that is the only document that can guide the programming of young people, that can guide how young people can relate to different issues, spheres of life, the education, the sports, and all that. But currently, we don't have that. So I strongly believe if young people really want to see a better future, they are supposed to demand the bill to be an act as soon as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So my last words to young people is that you are the people, because you constitute more than half of the Zimbabwean population. And according to this book, it says, we the people, if you are to read the preamble of this Constitution of Zimbabwe, it says, we the people of Zimbabwe have got a desire for equality, justice, and all those kind of things. So it's important for us as young people to be well versed with this book so that our rights are not violated. And when violated, we know what to do. Thank you.
This is the situation right now. With me, your host as usual, Dara Blessed Mhlanga. Young people are not the leaders of tomorrow. Young people are the tomorrow that we desire. And they should be included in decision making. Because after all, it is them who will be alive tomorrow. And those who would have made decisions for tomorrow would have gone. Let us do the right thing. Let's allow young people, young minds to give direction. I mean, look at other nations. The Prime Minister of Britain, of the United Kingdom, is what? 42? We have CEOs, leaders of big companies, Facebook, the Mark Zuckerbergs of this world. They got there when they were young. People who have made groundbreaking decisions or discoveries that have changed the lives of the world have been young people. I mean, I think when you're still young, your mind works better and faster. Your body can actually even, survive the rigors of and pressures of the day more than an older person. Like Yokai said, let us not allow the greed and the entitlement that when we were young, we fought the war, so we can't let go, or we can't allow young people to also take part in decision making. Let's think the future. Now is the future. I am your host as usual, Blessed Mhlanga, for Heart and Soul TV and Radio in proud partnership with We Lead. Until next time, thank you for joining me.